Hey everybody, super cool to be here, very exciting. You are now going to be the first audience that gets to hear this speech or talk, so bear with me, so to say. And thank you Tali, Caroline, Novoda, Overall Design Lab for this opportunity for me to be here. I'm representing Joint Futures, a new community that we are kickstarting with a conference later, start of next month in Helsinki. And as said, we are preaching about holistic design. So without further ado, greetings, you fellow design enthusiasts. My name is Kauri Salonen. I'm an information junkie, a dreamer and a maker, and here today as an advisor for Joint Futures. A little bit about myself. I'm 33 years old. I come from Helsinki, Finland. Nowadays I live here in Berlin, just a kilometer that way. And what could I say about myself more? Maybe about the fact that I've been doing design for roughly a decade now. Both different kind of physical design stuff, industrial design, and later on then digital aspects came to my life and have been really something that I immersed myself into. Lately though, kind of like what brings joy and meaning for myself in my career is coaching, educating, and especially experimenting with new design methods, frameworks, and techniques. So maybe just quickly mentioning that it's kind of like a really cool moment right now when it comes to like the ideology of open source and cooperation overall, and especially as I'm talking about joint futures, it's a really cool day for me to be here talking about this matter. So without further ado, because today is about design, not about designers. So towards a holistic design approach, anyone familiar with this definition or topic already? And if yes, could you please raise your hands? Maybe a few there, yeah. But cool, overall this is then something new for all of us, right? So to dive in, what is the value of design? Is it the outputs that we create, like the user interfaces? Is it the user experience that those outputs inform? And we could inspect this with the 5 S's of user experience. Those being strategy, scope, structure, skeleton, and the surface. So about strategy. Strategy is about why we create, who our solutions are intended for, why people are willing to use those solutions, and what they need them for. And then it's scope. What are the features and the content contained in the application or product? And then there's structure, so how users interact, how systems behave on interaction, how it's organized, prioritized, and how much of it. And then there's skeleton, which determines the visual form and on the screen, presentation and arrangement of elements that makes us interact with the functionality, the system that exists on the interface. Also, how the user moves through the information and how information is presented to make it effective, clear, and obvious. And lastly, the surface. It's the sum of all the work total and decisions we have made. However, what about the designers themselves, us? Don't we have a value in the setting of a company? What about the processes? And what about the culture us designers create? What about the relationships we build? Is it the sum of all of that? To understand design holistically, it's about observing and operating multiple levels identified as craft, operations, and strategy. So when design is reduced to simply the deliverable, it is seen as merely execution. It is hard to justify the value of design then, because while pushing pixels can contribute the overall betterment of a product, the real value of design is not shown directly through that. Design should be embedded into the culture and values of the organization with an enabling belief that we are all creative by nature. In similar scenarios, when design happens in isolation, whether if it's user experience, service design, design research, unless design is seen holistically, it is hard to put value on it. So, to quote Andrea, the value of design is not just in the outcomes, but in the process of designing. In attempt to answer this at face value, designers try mapping traditional ROIs, returns of investment calculations, onto revenue streams or cost savings that design might impact. So, what is the expected revenue of the product, one might think? What are the costs savings of the new system, in this case a design system? And when we look at the metrics, that will help us answer the question of the return of investment, but in the process we can easily miss the forest for the trees. So bear in mind, design is not just a partner. In mature customer-centric companies, design has gained a bigger role in an organizational level. Design can help in development teams with user experience embedded. The outcome being designers and developers and basically the whole organization from there on out can work more efficiently and more joyously together. So design can help with design research and aid in the understanding the customer. Design can help on a strategic level with facilitation, service design and coaching. However, unless design is seen holistically, a compartmentalized design jumbled into silos is hard to measure. So this is an interesting graph adopted from the Dara Blumenthal PhD, generative team design. Psychological safety is a shared belief that the team is safe for interpersonal risk-taking. If you want holistic change, then you need to have good teamwork and collaboration, which requires clear communication, which requires psychological safety and interpersonal trust, and the conversation usually stops here. So safety and trust require active listening and the appliance of empathy. And if you're lucky, the conversation includes these also. What are we starting to comprehend is that active listening and empathy require us to be vulnerable. This is new for business overall to understand. So this requires us to be self-aware and to be able to self-reflect, which at the end requires adult developmental capabilities. So the three levels of design, as said, craft, operations, and design. Let's pick these three different lenses to understand what design really is. Craft. Craft is the doing of design. For example, a design system and its outcomes being communal well-being, cost efficiency, cross-collaboration increased, for example. It's the ways of working, tooling, outcomes, the outputs, etc. Then you have your operations, the enabling of design. And as you see, increased time for designing, measuring design efficiency, and operationalizing processes are the key outcomes of enabling design. So better understanding of employees' needs in onboarding, finances, organizational cohesion, and performance. For example, team formation and efficiency. So directing design, so basically strategy, design leadership. This is kind of like what the design world has been talking about quite heavily the past year and a half, 2 years or so. So strategy is, as said, about directing the design, and strong leadership is having one eye on the horizon and one on the next wave. So basically your long and short-term perspectives. Vision, creating the direction and plan for the culture, teams, and design offering. The community, engaging the external community of other design professionals, peers, and different industry sectors. And advocacy, promoting or basically selling the design offering and the team around the business to clients and partners. And capabilities, as in mapping, tracking, measuring, resourcing, developing capabilities and skills across organization. Then you have team, you're growing, supporting, nurturing, the managing of the design team of individuals. And then collaboration, working with peers, other units, other disciplines, and other styles to get tasks done. Quality, especially important when it comes to design. Encouraging quality of products and services thinking, doing the right things, and the delivery details of the design solution. And practice, developing a toolkit for the team, methods, techniques, principles, the environment, and processes the team needs to function most joyously, effectively, and efficiently. But at the end of the day, it's all about clear communications. And there isn't and shouldn't be a better measurement of successful operations than how well is your organization communicating what direction is the endeavor supposed to be headed at, and what are the most valuable steps to be taken. Emergence. So we come to a point of understanding design as whole. In philosophy, systems theory, science, technology, and art, emergence is a condition of an entity having properties its parts do not have due to interactions among the parts. So you can just watch a lone ant under a microscope for as long as you like, and you still couldn't predict that thousands of them might collaboratively build bridges with their bodies to span gaps. Scrutinize the birds in a flock or the fish in a school, and you wouldn't find one that's orchestrating the movements of all others. Holistic design is understanding and solving problems in all the three levels that design operates in. So you might ask, is that all? Well, the answer is no, because design in its entirety is a wicked challenge. It comes from few different aspects: holistic, impactful, accountable, strategic, inclusive, diverse, integrated, intentional, and especially data infused. So as designers, we have an opportunity to use our tools and frameworks, coupled with our ability to catalyze change, to shape the conversation for the future of business together with our stakeholders. So impactful, how do we align profit with impact? How can we adopt a model that checks if we align with the, for example, United Nations Sustainable Development Goals? A very important aspect. And accountable design. Learn the fundamental skills of why and no, and how to use them as gatekeepers. For me, at least, saying no has been always a really hard task, as I'm always trying to service others or please others, in that sense that I really am a good Samaritan, and sometimes my table is too full and I would really need to understand to say no. So this is a really good aspect to think about if you are and when you will reach a position where your leadership skills are needed. So to understand how to delegate, to understand when to say no, this is not for me, this has to be put somewhere else. So strategic design, or overall the strategic aspect of design, create the conditions for delivering great brand experiences. You have to have a clear vision, understanding of your essentials. You have to always be learning and aim to be able to envision what future holds. And most importantly, make the product right, right? So inclusive and diverse. So broadening perspectives to build empathy. Bringing diversity into teams and processes and building inclusion into designs. And integrated. How do we make designs an equal player of the infamous Venn diagram? Intentional. In the recent EY paper entitled Winning with Purpose, research revealed that 89% of customers believe that the purpose-driven companies deliver higher quality products and services. And in an Edelman study, 72% of respondents said that they would recommend a company with a purpose, a 39% increase from 2008. The Harvard's Meaningful Brands Index claims that between 1996 and 2011, purpose-led companies performed 10 times better than S&P 500 in terms of revenue growth. So in the same study, 75% of people reported expecting brands to improve well-being and quality of life, but only 40% believe they are doing so. So it's no surprise that people wouldn't care if 74% of the brands existing today were to disappear. Sorry, just a second. Super hot day. Or maybe a too heavy shirt. Data infused, my kind of like from all of those 8, my favorite child. I really am a really analytical person, so coming from a data infused, data oriented, whatever you want to call it in that sense, approach or angle is what design for me is. Like my partner said, art comes from the heart, design comes from the head. So in that sense, design is about finding those solutions and always be solving. So data infused, craft, ops and strategy, everything else. And there in the middle, there's that sweet spot, like always. The more we zoom out and observe design as a part of a system, we understand the wicked problems require extraordinary solutions, multidisciplinary and inclusive approaches. So how to get moving to this direction? We invite you to join the conversation, be a part of our community, be an advocate, build with us, establish policies, and practice. This kind of wraps it up in a way what Joint Futures is aiming to do overall for societal progression and especially to increase the communal well-being of creative fields, is to come together to discuss how our futures look like. So, just quickly wrapping this talk up because I am here to represent a community that is being kick-started with the conference just in a few weeks. I quickly want to talk about Joint Futures as a concept. So, doing, enabling, directing design together with 600 design-oriented professionals and leaders there at the conference, and of course after that throughout different social media platforms and especially our own community and bulletin boards and so on. So during the conference we have 2 days of conference talks and a day full of workshops, and we have curated this into 2 different tracks. So the craft and the people. So the people track is all about managing design teams, expectations, communicating our profession, and selling the value of design and how to amplify and scale our design organizations. And then we have the craft track, sheds light on becoming more efficient with tools, ways of working, processes, current trends in the profession, with insights on users and other companies' methods. So quickly, 4 really interesting program highlights, and that's it. I'm not here to sell the conference. I'm here to sell the ideology of holistic design. So, but quickly glancing through some of the program highlights, as said, the notable ones in that sense. So first, Kim Goodwin. Her talk is about bringing back human-centered. She's an author of Designing for the Digital Age, and she will be sharing her thoughts, as the title says, on how to bring the human-centered back to design. Then, Embracing Complexity as the New Normal, Sami Niemelä, the founder and creative director of a Finnish-hailing design company called Nordcap, basically one of the designers I overall look up to, like almost like a design god or something like this. He's a really like a guru in my opinion. He's a designer working at the intersection of systems, foresight and design, and Sami's message is clear. The world is increasingly messy and complex, and it's okay. And then Josh Silverman talking about brand is a product, is marketing, is operations. He has a background of 25 years with design, creating successful relationships through design, and his talk will show how people persist over products. And then lastly, but definitely not least, one of our community drivers, conference host and a workshop host, Gina Ann, with her workshop titled A Real-World Design Systems Workshop. She's a design systems advocate and a coach who, for example, co-authored the Design Systems Handbook. Her workshop focuses on this real-world scenario most of us face in design systems and how to move forward. I want to finish with a thought. When we learn together, we teach each other, so let's share and build the future as one. Thank you. Join the conversation, please.